Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fuel Injected, a podcast about motorsports presented by CronYo Media. Today, we've got a very special guest for y'all. We have Mr. Kurt Kreahmer, driver of Rammunition and Hotsy. How you doing, Kurt?
Hey, how we doing today?
Not too bad. Just got done this weekend. How'd y'all do?
Uh, you know, um, it was all right. It's the first debut well, not debut, but first time running Hotsy this season. We're switching over from Rammunition to Hotsy. So that was kind of cool to, anytime you bring it out, people are, as many people that have seen it, a lot of people haven't. Um, a lot of people like it. So a lot of people, it's first time seeing the truck and they like it. It's got a cool look to it, and if I do say so myself, and it's become, it's kind of the underground popular identity that we run, because we don't run it full time. It does a lot of displays for the Hotsy Corporation, so um, when we do get to run it, it's kind of a cool deal. The weekend wasn't too bad. Had some decent two wheel skills. Racing just struggle with the tight confines, dasher building. You don't want to cause any building damage and that kind of thing. But got around the track pretty well. So it wasn't an all bad weekend. Three events and you know and so is pretty easy. The timed racing part, and then the two wheel skills, and then a 60-second freestyle. So the weekend honestly went by pretty quick, which is almost a shame because Biloxi is just such a nice city. It's a nice town. It's right there on the Gulf. The beach is right there. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I remember watching in Biloxi. It's one of the last events that I actually watched a stream back on, and that was one of the last events I saw Scott Hardsock do anything at before he unfortunately passed away. But Biloxi, yeah, I wasn't sure if they had been back in a while, but I don't think they had. I think that's why it was such a big deal that they were back up there. But yeah, Biloxi's, there's a lot of history there. The 60-second freestyle, I was watching the live stream of it, and it was definitely one of those things. If you're not paying attention, it goes by pretty quick. Doesn't give you a whole lot of time to do anything. But I did want to ask you. There's a couple things here. Um, so it's according to the research that I found, it looks like they say that you've driven four different namesake trucks. As they say that you've driven obviously Rammunition, that you've driven Hotsy, which I also wanted to ask: Are Hotsy and Rammunition, is it just a different body on the same thing, or is it a different truck altogether?
Yep, it's the same chassis HBR 10 that wears both Rammunition and Hotsy. It's more than Raminator too. This actually used to be way back in 2014. This was Mark's chassis, and well, he's building 12, and then we debuted 12, and then Dale drove number 10, and then when Dale left, I moved in to number 10. And honestly, didn't have to change a thing. He and I are similar body styles, if you will. So his seat fit me perfectly, and his pedal position. We didn't change a thing as far as pedal or seat position or anything. Um, so yeah, and this is the truck that set the then speed record at 99.1 miles an hour. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of cool to have that history underneath you. But
Yeah,
yes, it does. It sports Rammunition and Hotsy bodies on it.
gotcha. Then they said that you filled in a few times, at least it seems on the Monster Jam circuit, and driven Raminator a couple times. And then they also say something about General Tire, which I would assume is more independent than it would have been for the actual Monster Jam tour.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I have driven Raminator before, especially more so during dealership stuff. But yeah, I believe I have raced it before. General Tire, that was a deal with the four wheel jamborees, and they had deal with General Tire. Matter of fact, General Tire sponsored the monster truck part, and part of their deal was that they had their own identity truck, and so I ran that at the Jamborees quite a bit, and that was, that was a pretty cool looking truck. It was kind of red and black and white, and had this kind of, it was almost hard to describe, just like an artistic styling to it. That was honestly pretty neat. Looked pretty neat on our truck. So that was pretty cool to represent them and represent all these companies is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure it's probably a big deal also having that full on ram on the front of it because everyone else is they're just some kind of model, but you guys you actually got the full deal. Get like I've always loved these trucks just because of the way that they look. Like I grew up a Ford guy, but I've always liked the way that Dodges looked. So when I saw these trucks, I was like, "Holy crap! This literally just looks like it's a Dodge truck that just drove off the street."
Yeah, you know, Hall Brothers had the Ram sponsorship, well, which started with then Dodge, but now in 2009 became Ram when they split the brands. But they've had it since 2001, so it's one of the longest sponsorships in motorsports, and it's a pretty awesome feeling to have that to drive with that kind of lineage underneath you, and that kind of sponsorship puts a lot of pressure on you because Ram and Hotsy, they don't want any slouches. So we got to perform at our top level and also represent the respected company as well. So
Hmm.
that puts a little pressure on you. But as far as, yes, I mean, they want them to look as close to a stock truck as you can, and so we don't have liberties with too many 3D elements, things that'll take away from the body styling because it's got to look like a Ram truck. It's got to look like a stock one, like you said. You can do
Yeah.
whatever you want with schemes and that kind of thing, which they have a heavy hand in. But we have little 3D ram heads, things of that nature, and Hotsy has those flames off the back of the cab. But other than that, you want it to look like the production truck, like you're saying. So, and our fiberglass guy, Ray at B Boat up there, he does a really good job of making our bodies and making the molds of the new stuff. Um, we got some cool stuff coming. I'm anxiously awaiting the debut of the RHO body and a new identity for Rammunition. Rammunition is said to be kind of being retired and them going in a different direction with the rename and the all new RHO um, body. I think is going to be look pretty cool on the truck. So um, we'll see where that goes. They're still working on it. I got no other teasers other than um, and I don't think there's been any. We've had some mock-ups of the first initial body, but I don't think anything's been out there publicly yet. But yeah, the Rammunition is gonna switch on their Joe and probably potentially Raminator then in the future. But I think they're gonna keep Raminator a heavy duty for now and like it is, and then potentially switch it to an RHO in the future as we switch everything. And it'll be the first ever crew cab we've done on one of our trucks, so it's that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. That's most of the trucks they got pretty generic back in the early like 2000s and whatnot. Everything was just a two-door truck or an SUV. But yeah, I mean that'll be cool to see. I do. There is one thing that made you start becoming a fan favorite that you started doing when they did. Now, mind you, people have their own mixed opinions on the donut contest at the Monster Jam events, but you started bringing out, I don't know how many shows you did, but you would do a donut and you'd pull out that little floaty.
Yeah.
So, what brought that about? Tell us that story.
Well, you know, everybody, it seems like nobody has, an original idea, and everybody's inspired by somebody else. And I'm no different. I did these events with Zach Garner. He'd bring out actual donuts with him and either toss them out while he's spinning or and hop out for the fan voting and eat one, which I thought was hilarious. I wanted to take his idea and just, make it a little more visual, I guess. I just considered an actual donut too small, unless, when you have cameras, it's not a big deal. But some venues, even Monster Jam venues, don't have cameras, and I wanted something, maybe a bit more oversized and comical. You're talking about monster trucks, which are oversized, so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have something funny like that and do like a little bit with that. So I was inspired by Zach. I just took it in a different direction. I needed something that was big enough to be seen by the audience, but small enough to keep in the cab that won't interfere with anything. So I found these on Amazon. They were just the right diameter that would all work. I could keep them in the cab and be able to get them out and not have it be too overinflated, too big to wheel around and stuff. It would be cool to hold it out the window while you're spinning, but our truck spins so fast that I'm just concentrating on holding on to the steering wheel and being ready to react if something went sideways to do some of that. I don't know how some of these guys hold the steering wheel out the window and spin. It really is impressive. And I know some people they have just a spare steering wheel. They're not holding their actual one out the window. I don't want to give secrets away, but I've seen some
Yeah.
do that. But some do it true and true. They remove the actual one. But to me, I just need the security to have my hands on the controls in case something went sideways. To get out of it, maybe save it or whatever happens. But yeah, I decided to have that balloon with me, and it's kind of if fans really like that I've never heard directly from fans what they think of it. I could hear chuckles from the audience, of course, when I get out and do it, and then certain announcers have really played into it, which has been funny. But yeah, as long as the fans do it, fans like it, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I can just say that I went through like three or four different places to find research on you to try to find stuff I didn't already know. And all but one of those websites mentions something about the donut floaty. So you're definitely doing something right with that. But you're on what you're on, I know you're on the arena tour, but what, are you on the East?
Yep, yep. Arena
Arena
Championship
Tour East.
Series East, and we get pretty stoked lineup there. I was really excited for it this year because everybody on there I've worked with before at least once, and everybody I'm friends with, and I consider a friend. Uh, Blake I ran with in like 2020, and Tony Oaks I ran with in 2020. Kristen, I seem like I ran with her. The last I think I don't have the stats, but like the last four series I was on with her. And then MJ, I ran with him a few times, but he's proven to be a really good buddy. He actually came out to, we were out in California just doing our dealership stuff, Car Crush. He came out and hung out with us the whole time. We went out with him and his girlfriend afterwards, and just became really good friends with him. And of course, Mark, and then the Teluchkas kind of speak for themselves. Those two, Brandon and Michaela, are just great. Some of the best people in the world. So I was really excited for the lineup. Um, this season hasn't been. I've had fun this season, and actually I've done quite well in the racing part. But it seems like I do well in the racing part, then my two wheel skills deal falls apart, and I'm trying to get that back. I'm starting to get my feel back for it. And then you know, freestyle is always, we try and run as hard as we can without, kind of tearing a whole bunch of stuff up. But, um, now they finally rolled out the averaging the pro judging and fan judging together on our tour. And Um, so and that's kind of helped. I've noticed just this weekend, just like I said, it just rolled out this weekend. Um, and I've liked it because my scores have not been, they've been kind of boosted up by the pro score. So um, that shows I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it seems like, that it's definitely the younger generation that it's going towards where they just don't care about what you do on the track. All they care about is who did it. And most of the time it's if you don't do a backflip, you don't got a chance at winning. And certain guys like independent trucks, they can't always do a backflip because people don't understand in the crowd. You guys have to fix your own trucks. You don't have the massive pit crew like they do that's going to come swarm on it. I'm sure they'll help you out if you break something, but you guys don't have that same access like they do as an independent crew. So you got to take a little bit better care of your trucks, and you can tell when you watch stuff. Like I went to an arena tour in Baltimore, and I watched when Frank Kremel and Chad Tingler were in there. They were driving. I had interviewed Frank, and I went to go see him, but also Dalton Widener, who I interviewed very first, was on that same tour. So I went to go see them, and Throttle Monster and the Stone Crusher team right there, they're not doing backflips because those guys had to work on their own trucks. And I didn't even get to see the Earthshaker that they had there because he blew an engine in the intros.
Ooh,
So that just goes to show you right there that it's different. And then in that show, Weston Anderson completely demolished his Gravedigger. So it's like you can see who has the green light to just drive it however they want and who actually has to take care of their trucks, which is no slight at anybody for sure because it's all entertaining to watch. To me, I like watching you guys run just as much as I like watching him tear up the truck because you guys, you go in, you do the old school stuff. This actually has been cool to see the Sky Wheelie contest come back because it gives you almost a it's kind of like a 50-50. Like guys like Frank Kremel back then, he wasn't doing any nose poppers or wheelies or anything like that. His two-wheel skills run were all just straight sky wheelies. So it was almost like Monster Jam trying to tell you guys, like, hey, let's try to do something else other than just wheelies and see what else we can muster. But I gotta say, over the course of last season, your improvement in that two-wheel skills was really fun to watch because you were starting to figure it out.
yeah. Um, and thank you for that. And that's what's been bothering me this season. I came so far last season, and this season I kind of lost it, and some of that, a lot of that is due to a confidence issue with myself because we did these post season monster jams in the fall, and I just went out to do my two-wheel skill stuff, and I rolled over. And then I went out again, and I rolled over again. Just nosed over, turtled. Whenever you turtle any truck, especially ours, it busts everything up. You damage a hood, you damage a cab, you damage, at least one bedside tailgate, and it messes with you. And I felt like I had lost that ability, somewhat. And but I've started to get it back. Like I said, I got a whole bunch of good drivers on our tour, on our series, and they've all been helpful with getting my game back. And now I have. I realize how hard I got to hit it, and we got the new shifters in there. They're similar to what everybody else has, so we could shift into reverse right quick. And so I'm hoping to get some cool stuff going here now that I've kind of refigured out where I have to be on that.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, you guys go out every night and your truck. One thing that you can say that you can't always say about everyone else about you guys is I don't think I've ever seen an event where both your trucks aren't on the track. And if they are, something's catastrophic has happened. But it's one of those things as well where you guys go out there and you do what you can, and then this is where the flip side of the fan judging comes in, because then you have to rely on someone else to score it. And I always wondered, and I guess I can ask you this: has that ever? Have you gone out and put a run down, and you're like, "Oh, this is gonna get me like a 7," and then you get like a 5.8, and you're like, "Well, what did I do wrong?"
Oh yeah, I mean, and that kind of happens. It's kind of par for the course, It happens, but it's okay. As long as the fans are entertained and we're out there doing our deal, then um, that's all that matters. Like you said, we try and make every element of every competition. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that's thanks in part to our great crew, and they do their best to get us fixed, get us back out there as fast as we can. And but yeah, we do get underscored, and that's okay. As far as Rammunition, they're trucks themed after the trucks that they are, so it's a little redundant. Even Hotsy, it's got a cool look to it, but in the end, it's a truck that representing a corporate entity, and I think you know that doesn't mean much to a kid, and the kid's parents are going to vote on Judge's Zone um, for a truck that their kid likes, and their kid's going to like the Shark one, or they're going to like the Bull, or and of course people are kind of pre-programmed to like Gravedigger, and on and on and on, and also when you're running up against you know corporate trucks that have that um, big budget behind them that can, seemingly unlimited budget, they can run at a higher level than we can because as an independent, you can't run like that for long. Otherwise, you'll be out of business.
For sure. That's kind of what I was hinting at earlier. Is you guys don't have the money to fix an axle every time you bust one if you do a freaking backflip every night. Because as much as these trucks are designed to handle this stuff, you can only do backflips so many times. Something's gonna break. Those landings are not always flush, and something's gonna break. You see so many times somebody does a backflip, lands on the back tire, and then you just see power steering fluid everywhere or whatever it is. It's just like now you won, but now you've got all night to fix your truck to get it ready for the next event. So I mean, it's a dual edged sword. Most of those guys, I can't even say like they don't work on their own trucks because I'm sure a lot of them do. They'll probably get in there and jump on it, but sometimes it's like in NASCAR even you can tell which people drive the trucks that or drive the cars that don't have to fix them because they just drive like an not like an asshole in Monster Jam, but they drive like an asshole in NASCAR, running into everybody, not scared if anyone wrecks them or anything like that. And it's just like, well, you don't have to spend the time fixing it, so you know. But you guys, I'm sure you and Mark, if something breaks on your truck, you're hands on getting it fixed.
We do.
That's a lot.
There's not one of us that doesn't work on them. We all do. We hop out of the trucks and a lot of times during an event, we're in our fire suits, so we we can't get down and greasy, but we can grab stuff for the guys that are. Or sometimes you just have to do what you can and have the other guys help fix it so you're not trashing your fire suit or making your fire suit flammable by uh, uh, getting it all greasy or getting fluids on it. So um, but then as soon as the event's over, we're out of our fire suits and we're down in there getting it fixed, no matter what it is, whether it's an engine change or transmission change, whatever needs to be fixed, we can fix it.
I will say I've gotten to see you guys' trucks before, but I've never actually seen y'all run. But I've been to more I've been to what now? I've been to Philly twice for the Stadium Series, and I've been to Baltimore once for the Arena Series in the last few years. I used to go. I'm from Oklahoma, so I used to go to Tulsa all the time, and I haven't been obviously in a while. I'm out here now, but all the independents that I've been to, like there's the Shaker team down here in Delaware. These guys they put on an event a couple years ago, and they had a bunch of independent trucks here. Dennis Anderson was there. That's actually how I ended up getting his signature, was because he was there. But that independent one was arguably more entertaining than the one that I saw in Philly, which is it's hard to say because you know that the Philly guys, there's so many high level drivers there, but it almost seems like, I don't want to say that they were not so conservative, but like all these independent teams that were at this independent event just were running off the hook. Like they were not holding back at all.
Oh yeah, and there's quite a few independent guys out there that they do run completely off the wall. Like even on the Monster Jam circuit, we wondered like how they, even financially that they balance all their books out. It's holy cow. Um, but they do it week in and week out. You know, I don't know. A lot of times they're supported by some other business that they have. In our case, monster trucks are the only thing we do. So, um, yeah, we have sponsorships, but it is the only business in our business. So, we don't really do anything else. Um, so it has to be
But
self-sustaining, and you can't run tearing the axle out underneath it every event. Otherwise, there will be no more team.
yeah, which is it's all part of balancing everything out. I gotta ask though, out of all the people that you have on your tour right now, and no, you can't say your teammate, which one is your probably you? If you had to pick one of them and be like, hey, let's go hang out with them, who would it be?
Ooh, everybody! Wow. I don't know. I'd have to. I'd have to say Brandon Teluchka. Honestly, I really like him. I think he's a cool dude. He and I are kind of like bros. But he treats everybody like that. So I'm not singling myself out. But I haven't yet this tour. But I'm gonna have to go hang out with him. I think sometime because I just think both them Teluchkas are really great. And honestly, like I said, everybody on our tour is great. I have hung out with MJ before, um, uh, and Tony's great and Kristen's great. But yeah, definitely Brandon.
Is there anyone on your tour that you would say you have a not so much of like a heated rivalry with, but if you see him across the line from you, you're like, oh, I want to beat him. Of course, you want to beat everybody, but if you see someone over there, you're like, oh, I can definitely upset him if I win this race or her.
Yeah, that hands down is Blake this year. I started even before the season started. I started jabbing Blake a little bit. I don't know why I did. I just because he was the late addition, official
Mm-hmm.
addition to the tour. Uh, I started to jab at him, and also he was the one driver, um, one of two drivers on the tour that I had not beaten in competition prior to the tour. It was him and Brandon that I had not beaten yet. Like I said, I got to race against Blake in 2020 before the season got cut short to COVID, and I never beat Blake. Um, and just never beat Brandon in Monster Jam before. Um, and then I'm proud to say this year that I have in racing. I've beaten Blake once, and I've beaten Brandon once. and so and honestly, I think then this year, I think I've beaten every one at one point or another just this season, um, which is kind of cool. Now the key thing is to get them all three in a row, so I can get myself a racing win. I got into the finals more than a few times. Got into the semifinals a whole bunch of times. Just need to get those wins in an order so that way I can, take home a JCB racing win, which would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean a trophy is always nice to bring home. I know those you guys those Hall brothers trucks are fast in racing. If you can get them to hook down, and it's all about also track conditions too, because those small tracks, man, they don't help you out all the time when you have a powerful truck like you guys got. But it's not to say like no by no means am I saying like you guys are way faster than everybody else, but you guys just those Dodge engine or those Dodges, man, they get around the track. They always have. Those things are fast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they can be, a lot of questions we get is, how much horsepower these trucks have, like in the pit party, people asking us. And, we say 1,700 to 2,000. Ours are, 2,000 around there. Uh, and they think, wow, that's a lot of power. I said, yeah, but when you're trying to apply it in these small arenas, plus, our trucks were designed around a longer wheelbase. They're longer than your standard Monster Jam truck, especially the fleet trucks. And that longer wheelbase can be to your detriment when you're trying to make tight turns, especially in like the timed racing portion and even head to head. You're still trying to wheel a longer, high horsepower truck around that tight track, and it can be tricky. I'd like to say we have to work harder for the racing wins sometimes. Um,
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that's too inaccurate to say because it seems like especially with a longer truck like that, it's going to be bouncing around when you're trying to flat track around a turn like that.
a lot of times where Mark and I end up losing the race is out of the going coming out of the final turn. When we stand on it, we will break the dirt loose and spin for a microsecond, whereas the fleet trucks, some of the shorter wheelbase trucks, maybe let's say slightly less horsepower trucks will stay planted and digging, whereas we'll spin. And the second we rooster tail like that, we've lost it. Even if you have a lead up to that point, um, if you spin, you've lost it. These races are so close.
Yeah, especially in those short arenas, they're always almost always having to go to the camera trying to figure out who won those things because they are definitely close. So I've already asked you about the Hotsy truck. You've explained that one to me. So what more can we learn about Kurt as a person instead of a driver? What do you do whenever you're not driving? Do you have like a secondary hobby?
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm a little bit of a dabbler in several hobbies. That's kind of always been my thing, but my main ones, I do some boxing. I don't box to compete. I box for fitness. Um, Learning that's been fun. Um, I've got my '77 Dodge Power Wagon that I work to restore. That's pretty cool to tool around in. I've got my RC Submarine, which has become popular around Monster Jam just because I was talking about it like through the years building it, and now I finally got it ready for the water. Actually, took it with last race and had it in the pool at the hotel on its first test runs. Got to make some more adjustments to it. Um, Big concert goer, um, and I got my mask collection. Um, but and I got my motorcycle too. So amongst all those things, I got quite a few hobbies.
I got you. I can relate to the boxing. I'm actually currently in training to have fights by the end of the year. So I'm actually doing that training for actual fights and fitness. Because who doesn't whoever says they couldn't lose a few pounds is they're just lying straight to your face.
Yep,
But
very cool.
the only thing about that you said that I can't relate to is I don't have anything RC. I used to have one of them big old monster trucks with the big foam wheels on it that they were
Mhm.
selling at Walmart, and then the motorcycle. I have a moped, but I don't have a motorcycle. But I also have a project car that I'm working on. I have a Pontiac, a supercharged Pontiac sitting outside that I'm fixing up. I saved her from a field. She was sitting for 4 years, so I saved her. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much. I saw some research and I did see that you said something about your motorcycle, so you got to at least tell us what it is.
Yeah. Well, technically, I have two of them. I have two Buells. Um, I have a '98 M2 Cyclone 1203 cc, and then the one I currently riding is a 2009 Buell 1125. Um, and it's probably one of the best motors. Well, I've only had the two myself, but it's probably one of the better motorcycles I've ever rode. And I've had an opportunity to ride some others, but um, it's definitely a lot of fun. Pretty fast, pretty fun ride. Um, I enjoy taking it out when I can.
Let's see. Now the one of the final questions I got for you. And they at Monster Jam, they're always trying to add to the arenas, make it to where the shows last a little bit longer, get the fans to get their money's worth out of the tickets. What is if you had to pick your favorite competition out of that, and then I'll flip it on the head when you're done and ask you your least favorite.
My favorite competition right now it's the racing program. I think somebody saw the stats for this year by stats. Uh, I was like third in 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 racing as far as wins, um, round wins. That is. Um, so I have to say that's my strongest suit. That's the one I like the most because it's racing straightforward to me. It's whoever gets to the finish line first, or in case of time, whoever hits the lowest time first. It's less subjective, or it isn't subjective to where two wheel skills maybe is. Again, we're talking fan judging, and then freestyle is. What makes a good freestyle to some person it might be that they tore the body off or the amount of carnage. To some, it's the speed or the engine noise or um, racing is not subjective at all. It's just get to the end of the finish line first and then you win it. So that's the one thing I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for like fans like myself, because I'm 25, so I grew up in like the golden era of Monster Jam, like where Tom and Dennis were just killing each other every single weekend, and but I've been hard pressed. Besides very few drivers, besides the Anderson boys, Adam and Ryan, because even Weston he can't really do it in the arenas, run that throttle like his dad did. And Kristen, she's kind of the outlier of the Andersons. She drives different than the rest of them. She kind of got her own style. But the closest you can get the closer you get to that Dennis Anderson sound is what drags me in. Someone that can drive around, have that throttle control on the truck the whole run, because no one ever understood you got to keep on a big stadium like that, you got to keep the RPMs up, because as soon as you hit the ground you're just gone to the next thing if those RPMs are where they're at. So people think that a thing that bothers me about fans when it comes to Monster Jam, there's too many of them that think that it doesn't require much skill, that you just get in the truck and you drive it and you jump over stuff. They don't understand things like what you said. You've got a truck that makes more power than the rest of the field. You've got to baby it around corners or else you lose your traction. And it might cost you a millisecond in a race that you don't have a millisecond to lose. Or keeping throttle control up in a corner whenever you hit a freestyle jump and you're on to the next one. There's so much skill that is involved into driving, but it's like you see people like Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. Whenever he hits a big jump, and then not many people do it, you tap the brakes like that, and it points the nose of the truck down, and you land on the ramp flush. There's so much skill that goes into it, so it annoys me for you guys whenever people say it doesn't take any skill.
Oh, it does. And I actually kind of wanted to start a rivalry between, arena drivers and stadium drivers. Stadiums, they have that wide open stadium field, like you said. You got to cover a lot of ground, and I'm not trying to detract anything from stadium, but it takes a lot more skill to operate in arenas trying to keep it off the walls than it is in stadiums. I mean, I was just talking about running within hockey dashers. Um, we can't hit those. That's building damage. That's a big no-no in Monster Jam. You know, it's keeping building damage down is what keeps Monster Jam returning to those venues. So we can't go getting out of control in an arena. And if you're able to put it on kill in an arena and stay off the walls, I mean, to me, I think that takes more skill than running it in a wide open stadium. I'm just I don't want to take away from stadium drivers, but they have a lot more space to operate in than we do. And yeah, the jumps might, they could afford to jump super high because if we did that, we'd end up in the stands.
Yeah.
You know, um, I do I like some of the bigger floors? Yes, of course I do. I do. I do like some of the larger arenas. Actually, I want one more shot at stadiums. I ran a stadium tour in 2018, my debut year. Struggled with it because it was my first year driving. Didn't have a lot of support from my other driver I was on tour with, and then it kind of spiraled down from there. I think our trucks would be better suited for a stadium than they do the arena. Like we talked about, the longer wheelbase, the more power. I think we definitely have something for them in racing. Um, but you know what? I'm happy doing arenas. I've done all right here, and I continue to do my job, and I'm pretty happy with that.
I mean, as long as the sponsors are happy, you're happy, Mark's happy, all those guys are happy, there's no reason to change. But I do, I'll flip it on the head for you. I'll tell you that even just last week, the Western Arena Series came to, or I think it was the Eastern, they came to a small stadium or a small arena and they had to do an event. And guys like Dalton Widener, who had been running in the arenas, were winning the events just because they know what it takes to actually do it. And these guys like Adam and Ryan and all these guys, they can't do what they want to do because there's not enough room. So it's all becomes finesse and skill at that point. But were you on the you weren't on the tour last year and when they went to Pittsburgh, were you?
No.
With the
Uh,
like, but you know what I'm talking about, don't you? When
yeah.
Joe Dennis crashed into the stands,
Yeah.
that that was a wild one.
That was a scary deal.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Joe's a pretty good guy. Worked with him a couple times. It just, I'm not going to speak to it, but it just got away from him, and
Oh
it
yeah.
was a bad deal.
Well, what I was glad is that it didn't cost him his job because I was scared that it was going to. But now he's over, or he was. They're done with that tour now. He was over there and overseas driving the Black Panther truck. So Feld gave him another shot at it, but Yeah, it was just a bad situation. It kind of came like what you were saying. What it looked like, he came around a corner and just lost traction. And some guys, when they're young and they're first starting out in their career, they haven't figured out the word "let off" yet. So, but that's pretty much what that was. But I didn't know if you guys were on that because I'm pretty sure he was driving for Team Throttle Monster at that point, and I know that Monster Jam is liking to do the four independent trucks and the four Feld trucks, and then trying to keep it even. Because I even think they're trying to do that in the Stadium Series as well. Because you got all the Avenger trucks. He's got his own fleet. Jim Kohler does, but yeah, those guys are cool. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It's definitely been fun learning about you guys, and I'll have to take a look and see if there's any events coming up around here that you guys are going to be at. But I'm
Okay.
not 100% positive that there is. But I appreciate your time. It's been fun doing this interview with you. And just got anything else that you want to say?
No, just come check us out on the Monster Jam series and keep tabs with us on Facebook. Hall Brothers Racing on Facebook. If you want to follow my Instagram, it's KramerMan81 on Instagram. Come see us at non-Monster Jam events. Like I said, we got a big stuff planned with Ram throughout the summer. They're having us do a whole bunch of stuff, cool events at your local dealers, and sometimes we do car crushes, we do ride truck things, and um, at Ram dealers, a lot of state fair stuff coming up, display stuff, Hotsy displays at open houses and at the farm shows. So definitely, wherever you can, just come check us out. Come stop by, say hi.
Yeah, again, this is Kurt Kreahmer, driver for Hall Brothers Racing, driver of Rammunition and Hotsy this year. We appreciate his time. I'll go ahead and link all of his Instagrams and whatnot in the description of the video whenever we post it. Kurt, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.